All right. Exodus 2. Exodus 2, the birth of Moses. We'll start there. Birth of Moses, verse 1. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when they could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. So just a few notes here. I mean, incidentally, just a passing little bit of information. In the movie, the Charlton Heston, the Ten Commandments, the robe that he's wearing, that cape, is actually a real Levi colors blanket. So just so you know how they were accurate in certain things. So now, what does it say here? It says that, she made him an ark of bulrushes. An ark, now we think of an ark as like Noah's Ark or the Ark of the Covenant or whatever. The word is teba, and that is what it means. Basically, means box or chest. And daubed it with slime and with pitch. Slime and pitch, both are words that were used for asphalt, as it's translated in Strong's, but probably it was more like tar, because asphalt becomes very hard, almost glass-like when it's cold. This was probably more tar-like substance, and mixed it with bulrushes. So interesting how it was put together, and it floated. And she put the child therein, and put it out there, and his sister was there standing afar off to see what was done to him. So she was gonna, I guess, go back and report, what to see what would happen. And here we're moving on. Now Pharaoh's daughter rescues Moses. Verse 5, as the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along the riverside, when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. Now, realize something. It says she went down to wash herself, probably more to bathe and swim or whatever, because being Pharaoh's daughter, she probably had big baths with spices and everything that she needed. So it probably wasn't a wash to clean herself. It was probably more like bathing, to be in the water kind of thing. Verse 6, and when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And it says wept here. When we think of weeping, we think of somebody like, kind of like not being too loud and weeping. And when you start being loud, it becomes wailing. And actually the translation for the word that's used is bewailed. And so wept, so you got to think about it. He wasn't probably, like that mental picture we get of people weeping is somebody sobbing kind of thing, right? But no, he was probably wailing and screaming. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. Now, it says, did she go directly to the mother as one of the nurses, or was word put out? We don't know. I mean, with God, anything is possible, right? So she might have gone right to Moses' mother. We don't know that. But I just think it's interesting that it's marked here that the maid went and called the child's mother. And you got to realize something. Who wrote all this stuff? Well, it was Moses. Moses is he's pretty much credited for writing the whole Pentateuch, which is the Pentateuch is the five first books of the Bible. These are all credited to be written by Moses, the first five. and it's known as the Pentateuch. So then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. Now, so this is interesting because, a lot of the times, a lot of people are under the assumption that she was there the whole time with Pharaoh's daughter, but no, she said to the mother, take it away. Where they went probably might have been to the quarters of a harem or who knows what, but it wasn't. She took him away and landed up nursing him somewhere else. And it was not much in the presence of Pharaoh's daughter. Listen to what it says here. And the maid called the mothers, and the Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child away and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter. So once the child was growing, she was brought back to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. The name Moses, by the way, when you say it in Hebrew, it's got in Strong's, it's got it as Moshe, but talk to any Jew and he's going to go Moshe. that's the Hebrew name for Moses, Moshe. And then we're moving on now. Now he's a young adult, right? And verse 11, and it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren meaning fellow Israelites, right? And looked on their burdens. So he was like, wanted to check out their hardships, basically. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. So smiting means beating on. Smiting can mean killing, could mean beating on, could mean, that word is used for a lot of different things. So he said, he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren, and he looked this way and that. So he checked all around him. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So he buries him, right? He kills him and he buries him. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong. So they're talking, he said to him that did the wrong, that was Moses, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? So he's saying, why did you kill your comrade, your fellow Egyptian? And he said, who made thee a prince and judge over us? Interesting, because he's actually not thanking him or anything. He says, who made you judge? Who are you to judge over us? He's actually rebuking him. Who made thee a prince and judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So just the fact that this guy said it to him, it must be known throughout, a lot of people must know. So he says, surely this thing is known. So now he leaves, he flees. Verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled. So obviously Pharaoh heard it. Now everybody knows it, right? So, but he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. So Midian, the Midianites also, they're Midianites, and what are the other ones? The ones from Ishmael, the Ishmaelites, is it? I forget what they call them, but they're used interchangeably quite a bit. But so the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. So here now shepherds come and they're driving the women away with their flocks. They're driving away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, How is it that ye come so soon today? So obviously with Moses helping them, it took a lot less time, because he said so soon today. It took a lot less time to take care of all the flocks with Moses' help. I guess being a man, he's stronger, he can carry more water, whatever the reason. It took a lot less time. Verse 19, and they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. So he delivered them out of the hand of the shepherds. So he helped them, to take away whatever the shepherds were doing. He delivered them. He took care of them, and then helped them water the flock. And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man. And he gave Moses Zipporah. Zipporah is actually how it's pronounced. It's Zipporah, his daughter, and she bare him a son. And he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. Interesting. Now, remember something. Zipporah is not one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. And it's a funny thing, because in today's, and remember something, Hebrew is one thing, and Jews are not necessarily, not all the tribes of Israel. Not all the tribes of Israel were Jews. Remember that. There were the 10 northern tribes were not considered Jews. They were not called Jews. When people say the 12 tribes of Jews, that's not what it is. It's the 12 tribes of Israel. So now, but that being said, the Levites definitely became Jews after, right? A lot of them migrated down when they separated, when they were fighting against each other. A lot of them did not want to deal with all the idolatry and all the other religions that were being that were infiltrating the Hebrew religion. And what happened was a lot of the Levites went down. So you have the tribe of the Jews are made up of the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, so now Zipporah, she wasn't even one of the 12 tribes of Israel. She was a Midian. She was not considered Jewish, nor even Hebrew, whatever. So now, why is it today the Jews all say, if your mother's not Jewish, you're not a Jew? This got me. You understand something, that they changed it somewhere, and I because what happened in the Old Testament, it was always the father that gave the blessing, right? It was always the father that handed down. Look at Jacob and gave all the blessings, as we read in 49 in Genesis 49. So now, where did it change? This is something that it shows you how that the Jews a lot they look to men. And what does the Bible say? Well, if you look to men for your teaching and you make man your right hand, well, then you're in big trouble. You're cursed. And I'll just say this: somewhere along the line, this all changed. So you have to ask yourself, why did they do it? I mean, I don't know for the life of me. I've been told it says in Deuteronomy that if your mother is not a Jew, but I looked it up. This was a rabbi that told me this. It was a rabbi of a synagogue that told me it says it in Deuteronomy. You show me where it says it in Deuteronomy. It does not. It says they don't want them intermarrying because they didn't want all the other religions, diluting the Hebrew religion. But nowhere does it say if your mother is not a Jew, you're not a Jew. And I'm just, it blows me away that people look at the Bible here and they see that Zipporah is a Midianite, and that Moses married her, and that they say now, they still say to this day, if you're not Jewish, if your mother's not Jewish, you're not Jewish. So I just had to, this is the point I wanted to make out of all of this, because it's very important here. It shows Moses married Zipporah, not a member of the 12 tribes, and that's it. And it was, did that make his children not Jewish? No, it definitely did not. Anyway, moving on, verse 23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by the reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. So when it says had respect, it says he knew, he was recognizing them. He was seeing their hardship, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that's my little reading of Exodus 2 today. And I just had to bring that. I might have dwelt a bit on it long, on the whole thing about Zipporah, but it makes you wonder, because what happened with me is somebody asked me, a non-believer asked me, well, when did it change? And I had no answer. I had no answer for it. Somewhere along the line, it changed. And that's it. God bless you all.